Welcome to the best netball podcast ever.
Stop.
Collaborate and listen. Do you even know what that song is? No. Pete, you do, don't you?
Of course I do. Vanilla Ice, isn't it?
I'm Chris, and today I'm officially starting my journey back to peak athlete condition just for trials.
And I'm Carla. She says that after buying a pair of new trainers and literally doing one stretch.
And I'm producer Pete. I brought a stopwatch, cones, and a reality check.
Excuse me, mindset is half the battle.
But fitness is the other half, and that's currently missing, Chris.
Hey, I've already done preparation.
You literally prepared the snacks.
To be fair, trial day nutrition really does matter. Shame the snacks were mini cheddars, but it should be okay.
Pete, it's called carb loading.
For the 10-minute warm-up.
Today, we're talking about trial prep, fitness, footwork, first impressions, and how not to look shattered in the beep test.
My tactic is to start strong.
And you'll likely finish horizontal.
Like I do after everything.
No more details required.
Moving swiftly on.
So today we've got a full-on episode of trial talk.
I'm excited about this because I feel like not only is it going to be super entertaining, obviously, it's really going to be informative and helpful for our listeners.
In Maine, we're talking about the grassroots, aren't we, doing trials?
Yeah, but trials do happen for every age, every group. Some clubs will trial as adults. Obviously, juniors is a big part of when you're trying to get into pathways or performance or county. So I think it comes in all shapes and sizes.
Do you remember doing trials?
I've trialled a few times. Our club does them. I would much rather be hosting the trials than playing in them, which I think speaks volumes.
I always have a sick day.
Well, yeah, we have managed to be missing from the last 3 that I could think of. That's a fair point.
Has it not gone unnoticed?
I mean, let's talk a little bit about trials generally. We've got lots of people coming on today. The biggest thing I think we will all agree on is it's super nerve-wracking, right?
It is. And the car journey there, actually sat on the bench waiting to go on court, wondering who you're going to be playing with. Are you going to make it work? It's hard.
I'm experiencing this at the moment with my 14-year-old daughter, Matilda. Shout out to Matilda, who's hopefully listening. I mean, she literally trialled on Saturday, actually, for a local netball club. Shout out to Bramcote.
Oh, nice.
And I sat 2 hours in the car watching Netflix because you can't spectate, which is always, I think, a bit more daunting for those young players.
Pete, for information, Carla sits in her car watching Netflix on the TV screen.
Everyone does that, don't they?
Of course they do, Carla. Like I do that in my 15-year-old Volkswagen. Of course.
I will tell you though, so Matilda did this trial and then she rang me and obviously I knew what time she's finished, so I went in. And a real good shout out to Bramcote, actually. They had a great little parents talk and I loved how it was organised, really professional, really enjoyed it as a parent. But I walked in and she came out looking like quite upset, actually. She was quite pale, looked a bit upset. I was thinking, and bear in mind, she was really excited to go, really hyped up, like we'd been talking about it for ages. She was invited to trials, so it's quite a big deal.
Were you not allowed to watch them then?
No, you couldn't, this particular one, no. In fact, most you can't. But she came out and I was like, how was it? Like thinking we'd finished the same conversation that we left before she walked in, which was excitement. And she was like, oh my God, Mum, I dropped the ball so many times and I made a couple of really bad passes. And I was like, oh right. And I'm obviously like my own adrenaline's like dropping from being really excited to see her. And then we're walking back to the car and I'm like, talk me through it. Like what happened? You know, being a good parent like you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
As the conversation goes on, it kind of went from, well, I did 3 really bad, like, drop ball, miss pass. And then she was like, well, actually, when I think about it, there was probably only 2. And then she was like, they carried on talking a bit more. And then she was like, I think it was only 1 that I actually dropped. And I'm like, right, let's be clear here. So at some point in the whole of the 2-hour trial, you dropped the ball once. Well, yeah, but yeah. I think they will have noticed. And I'm like, Matilda, like, what are you talking about? Literally forget it.
But that's what sticks in their mind, that 1, 2, 3 mistakes. It's irrelevant. Like you say, it's a 2-hour trial. Other people would have made just as many, if not more.
Watch any Super League game. You're telling me there was a mistake on that court.
Yeah.
Unquestionably.
I can't remember what game it was that I was watching the other night. There was loads. There was absolutely loads of errors in that game.
Yeah. Coaches as well, they're trained to know what to look for. They're looking for what you can do. Not what you can't.
Yeah.
And that's a real key part. And there's some really great coaches and trial prep people that will make the experience be great for these
I
players.
love the fact we're dedicating a whole episode to getting some experts on, talking to some professional players about their trials. It's great.
It's what's needed. The great news is, I literally got a text from the coach the next day and I was like, how did she get on? How was it? I've got a really good relationship with the coach. He's actually one of the ones coming on to talk to us later. One word was standout. And I was like, see?
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah, she didn't see the same perception that they did. So well done, Matilda.
Yeah, well done.
I think a lot of it as well is challenge for parents, isn't it? They've got to run around after all of them. And also there's this whole minefield of who do you trial for? How much do you edge your bets? How many groups to try and get into? How many teams? How many clubs? Because what if you get them all? What if you get none? What if you
I
don't
always
qualify
say
for one
the
you didn't
same
enter?
as with job interviews, go for as many as possible because then you get to pick. If you're offered 3 places, you go with your gut, the one that you feel's right for you.
Did I ever tell you about the story about the Loughborough Lightning Hub trials last year?
Don't think so.
Oh, this was one of those points where you're like weighing up your own sanity or your parent responsibilities. But Matilda trialled and she was just turned 13. But because of the way her birthday fell, she had to trial for the under 16s.
Oh, tough.
And it was really tough. And obviously over a year ago, so she was a little bit less experienced as she is now. And the first time they trialled, she didn't get in. And I think some of that was down to the fact that they didn't take into account
her age,
that she was 13. So, but she got another chance. They basically messaged back saying we'd like to see her again. And I think just obviously bearing in mind that she was 13. And then the trial, and we were like, oh, brilliant, she'll be so chuffed. And some of her teammates got into the under 14s group. Obviously, she didn't qualify. And then the date came through for the second trial. And we were on holiday on the Norfolk Broads on a boat.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
Don't tell me you sailed her to the trials.
Well, I was literally like, there's no way you could... That I wanted to be the reason that she didn't get to trial. If she didn't trial, she didn't get in. But I just politely replied back saying, yeah, she'll absolutely be there. Whilst thinking, oh my God, we're on our family holiday. My husband, her dad, obviously was absolutely brilliant. He was like, look, you need to do what's right for Matilda. So in the end we had to, so the boat, obviously you park your car up at the marina and then obviously you sail the boat however far you want to. So we were like 7 hours away from where the car was. So the decision was that we would get to the Tuesday or whatever, I can't remember what day it was on, wherever the boat was parked, we would get off the boat at that point and get a taxi from the boat wherever we were to the car, and then drive the car 3.5 hours back to Loughborough. I couldn't watch her. Obviously, 2-hour trial, so in she goes. So it took us like all afternoon. We had to get the taxi early because they only have taxis every so many hours. So I think we left at like 11. We had lunch on the way back, maybe 5 o'clock, and then we got to trials for 7 o'clock. And because it was on till 9. And then the problem was that we would have then had to drive back for 3.5 hours, which would have been the middle of the night. And then you can't get a taxi
back
to this side of a boatyard. So we had to stay in this really dodgy hotel. It was...
Was it called a Premier Inn?
It was actually, but it wasn't the best one. Some backstreet.
Was Lenny Henry there?
Because we weren't arriving till 1 a.m, and I said to my husband, I didn't want us to miss the next day, so I was like, we'll be with you at 7 a.m. Like I don't want to spoil our holiday, but we didn't get to the hotel. So he was like, you can't go and book a really fancy hotel for literally 6 hours sleep.
Yeah.
So we did book a Premier Inn. And then
She's such a snob.
got the car back to the marina where you bring the boat back, and then got a taxi back to the boat. So yeah, just for a
But actually, the moral of the story is it shows parent dedication, and I know there are loads of parents just like you who will travel to the ends of the earth to make sure their kids get to wherever they need to get when it comes to sport, not just netball, any sport.
Yeah, and I think that's such a great thing about team sport generally, isn't it?
Yeah,
And just...
love it.
So let's get on with the show with some people with some actual brains around trials. Let's hear from some coaches that run trials. Let's start there.
Right, before we get into the good stuff, Tara St. Clair, can you give us a quick intro? Your role, the level you coach at, your experience with trials.
When I first came into the UK, I've been involved with Loughborough Lightning, programme manager, coach within that framework as well. Did a fair bit with the pathway. Always kind of been involved with clubs. as well. So TFC, Prem Club, always had a connection with Mole Buzzers, who are like regional level. I'm starting to get into the mixed and men's stuff that's happening at the moment, which is really exciting. So yeah, like huge variety of athletes, kind of loads of different levels. In terms of how many trials, goodness, I'm not sure. Multiple trials across multiple years.
Now let's get into what people actually want to know. Be honest. How quickly are you judging a player? Are we talking 5 minutes? Your mind's already made up.
From my perspective, when I'm selecting, I think I do take a little bit of time to make a decision about a player. I'm very uninterested in what a player can't do. I'm very interested in what a player can do and their potential. And sometimes we need to see multiple snapshots of that through a trial period. They're always going to have those nerves when they first start. And so a few little drop balls and sort of tense moments to begin with is completely understandable. And I think as a selector, like we don't hold that against an athlete, particularly while they're settling into that environment. I love to see where an athlete might have impact. Are they doing their basics well? And so you do need to look at them over a period of time to see them consistently execute those skills.
Yeah, 100%. I think that makes sense, doesn't it? I mean, let's talk about the tough stuff. So when we're looking at effort versus ability, what wins?
A good mindset is always plus. I think it is a combo of the two. I think if we have an athlete who works really, really hard, but doesn't quite have those basic skills or can't execute them consistently the way you would want to have in the team, there does have to be a little bit of a trade-off there. But at the same time, mindset and attitude and effort, work ethic, they play such an important role in that player coming into that team environment and really contributing to that team environment. So there is a balancing act there. Both have their weight. And so it's important for young athletes to try and demonstrate both of those when they get a chance.
What about coachability versus natural talent?
I think when I say I'm very interested in what an athlete can do and their potential, I think a big part of it is if there's something that they don't know how to do, I'm quite confident we can coach that into them. It might just be that they've not been exposed to that yet, or the competition opportunities or training environments that they've been in so far might not have allowed them to develop certain things. So very much of the case of like, we can coach most things into young athletes. I love when an athlete has a physical attribute or something that really makes them stand out and they really make that work for them on court. So whether that is their height or their speed or what that looks like, I do think that sort of like those natural attributes, that natural talent is brilliant, but also at the same time, like they're not finished versions of themselves at that age. Like there's so much more that they're going to become. Coaches can work with that.
Been hearing quite a bit on podcasts about soft hands. Is that something you can coach?
Yeah, I think once an athlete probably realizes if they're dropping balls because they're a little bit tense, like what some of those strategies and techniques are. So having like a strong wrist, but like soft fingertips to really pull that ball in. It's those little tips and tricks that they just might not be aware of that yet.
Yeah. Do attitudes generally cost players places?
It can. It would be a lie to say it doesn't. I think a lot of the time, and I've had players in my teams who, you know, have been involved in different clubs. They may have come into my coaching environment or my club's environment and, you know, it hasn't worked out in previous clubs. I think the biggest thing is if you can build a rapport with a player as a coach, there's a lot you can do with that. And I always want to understand like where their attitude comes from. Like, is it a place of self-defense? You know, have they been in environments where, you know, they feel like they need to protect themselves? Where does it come from? Because I think if you have that relationship and that rapport with your athletes, you can really break through some of those barriers and then the attitude doesn't become an issue. But I also quite like a little bit of sass in my players. I think it's good for them on court just to have a little bit of something.
You'd love
there,
me
like,
then. I'm so sassy.
You know, like I do think it's good for players to still have that like authenticness about themselves. I don't think any player should have to pretend to be something they're not, but it's nice when you build that relationship to maybe understand the why behind it.
Two players, one's consistent, one flashes brilliance. Who are you picking?
Consistent.
If a player has a bad start, can they recover?
Absolutely.
If someone plays out of position but smashes it, what happens next?
I think it's a case of we may see something in that player that they haven't recognized themselves yet. We may see that they could be really suitable in another area of the court. Or what we're thinking is actually that player could be really versatile. They may give you something a little bit more than, the player that can only play one position. So, if you ask to play out of position, please don't worry about it. The selectors will be informed that you're playing out of position, but it's still an opportunity to demonstrate those basic skills and to have put up your hand and say, yeah, I'm happy to do what's right for the team in this moment. And coaches and selectors, they love that kind of go-get attitude.
What conversations happen after trials?
Lots of chat. Lots of chat. So I think as selectors, we tend to not have a lot of conversations during the trial process because you are busy observing and watching and, the conversation happens afterwards. So in those moments, everybody kind of brings their notes together or their feedback points. We go through different players, what they might bring to the table, their strengths, their potential, what it is we may need to coach into them or develop a little bit further. Thinking about if we're selecting for a training program, that can be quite different than selecting for a competition team. So if we're selecting for a training program, it's about the potential of the athlete. It becomes less positional specific. If we're selecting for a competition team, then we need to make sure, have we got the breakdown of players on court we need regarding position? Do we have versatility? Do we have different styles of players in different areas of the court so that we can combat what opposition throw at us? Those are the types of conversations that take place.
And do coaches disagree?
Yeah, they will. And I think too, particularly when we are in environment selecting, chances are that at some points, one of the selectors has coached some of the players in terms of the region, East Midlands. Coaches have got a lot of hats on, are involved in lots of different clubs or different programs. So sometimes when you know a player more than others, you may have knowledge about them, which obviously you can't bring to a trial process in the terms of they played great last week for club. You are taking it off their performance in that trial setting. But it's often if you understand that athlete or you have a little bit of context behind maybe the attitude or the mindset and stuff like that, then sometimes there can be slight disagreements. But I think for the most part, and I'm very fortunate that the people that I have been selecting with are incredibly passionate about netball. Most of them are, very, very experienced when it comes to trials. And so the conversations tend to be a lot of what can be coached into an athlete. To be fair, most of the time, yes, there might be the odd disagreement, but it doesn't tend to kind of get out of hand.
How much does team balance override actual talent?
Yeah, so if you're selecting for a competition team, then obviously having that balance within the team is so important. I think talent does play a huge part depending on what that competition level looks like. So if you are at that kind of starting point of pathways and things like that, then having the balance across the board, but you are looking for potential. You are looking for that talented athlete that might keep working their way up through the levels. So talent does play a huge role in it, and it is what you would want players to present in trials is what they can do, what they're capable of, the impact that they can have on court. But at the same time, we do need to be mindful, do we have all the gaps filled in that competition team?
Do you ever regret selections?
Not really, because I think I go in very uninterested in what a player can't do. I just want to see the potential. So most of the time I come out of a trials actually feeling pretty excited about what I've just seen. And, there'll always be a couple of those little gems where you think, oh, wow, they've really gone away from the last year and worked on themselves and worked on their skills. And this is amazing to see their growth and progression. If it's an athlete that we're not particularly familiar with and they've kind of come out of nowhere, you're who is this? What's their background? Where have they come from? So I think a lot of the time, the decisions made around athletes are not snap judge moments. There's a lot of conversation after that trial process, and the decisions that are made are usually very, very sensible decisions where there is a lot of group consensus around that. So no, I don't think I've ever really walked away and thought, I've made an error here. I think if I have not selected an athlete, there's been a very justifiable reason for it.
So I'm going to tell you 3 sentences now, and then if you could explain what each of them means when you say it. So number 1, we'll be in touch. Number 2, keep working hard. And number 3, you're not quite ready.
So I think we'll be in touch. We'll obviously be like, we have a process to go through. So we'll be in touch once we've finished that process and we can then share that information.
So it's not a hard
athletes.
no.
No, we'll be in touch is very much like we just aren't at that place where we can necessarily say yes or no right now because we still have part of that process to go through. What was the next one? Keep working
hard.
Yeah, I think sometimes, and this is really applicable for athletes who go into a trial environment for the very first time, is that they don't often have a blueprint for what a trials environment might look like. And that very first time can be a little bit overwhelming, can be a little bit daunting. And so some of that messaging is keep working hard because now that you know what it's about, like take that year, go away, like in your competition opportunities that you have at the moment in your training environments, like keep building those skill sets so that you can come back and feel really prepared for next year. So that keep working hard is like we see the potential. It's just maybe not quite there yet.
And you're not quite ready. I guess that's pretty much the same sort of thing. True or false? Trials are already decided before they start.
False.
Selectors pick players they know.
True, but there has to be justifiable reasons for their skill set, their coachability, etc. It's not just a straight, because I know them, they're in. They have to still demonstrate that they meet the criteria.
You have to stand out individually.
True. As a young athlete, wouldn't that be the thing that mentally bothers me when I'm in a trial environment? Yes, you need to stand out, but also being the person that just does your job on court, do it well, do it consistently. You may not be the flashy person, but every team needs those people that just are the little workhorses.
Yeah. If you don't get picked, that's it.
No, there is always another trial opportunity.
So for everyone listening who has trials coming up, what should they be doing this week?
So the main things that selectors are looking for is, can you execute your basics well and do them consistently? And do you have good positional skills as well? So anything that's relevant to your position, shooting, rebounding, whatever that looks like. So those are things that are really important. I think also fitness plays a big role. Come into trials fit, come in prepared to give full energy the entire length of time, move with pace, move with purpose on court, demonstrate that you're physically strong and can take those contacts. It's really important that physical element of your game is there as well. I think
that would be Carla out then because she's on the floor constantly.
Yeah, there'll always be a couple of players that, are doing a bit of cleaning while they're down there. And I think too, keep working on game sense. So, watch what those above you are doing and how they do it. So if you are a junior athlete, you have trials coming up, watch what the senior girls are doing, watch the Super League, see how the players that are in your position, how they're executing skill on court, how they're reading play, some of the decisions that they make, always kind of learn from those that are above you. The biggest thing too is go in with the mindset that every trial is a learning opportunity. And as long as you give your best or try your hardest in that environment, that's all you can ask of yourself.
Couldn't agree more. What would you say is the biggest mistake to avoid?
I think letting the occasion get on top of you. Yeah. So letting the occasion of trials, which can feel like a slightly more formal process. Sometimes it can feel a little cold and it's not necessarily the same warmth of a training environment that you're used to, a little bit more formal. Just don't let the occasion get on top of you. At the end of the day, if we strip all of that back, you are getting on court to play netball, which should be the sport that you love. So the second you get a ball in your hand, everything else should just melt away and you are just playing netball.
Tara, you've been amazing. I think your advice is sensational and really appreciate your time today.
Well, you're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
Right, next up, helping our listeners prep for trials, we have an excellent guest with a good credibility in the trial world. Welcome, Neil Smith. Tell me about your role, who you are, your expertise with trials, what kind of levels.
Thank you for having me on. So my name's Neil Smith. I am involved in netball at a number of different levels, both club, county, and then even more recently franchise with Nottingham Forest in their pathway. And my trial experience extends to each of those three areas.
So let's start with a nice, easy question. Let's be honest here. Do you love trials or hate them?
I think if I had to choose one of those two, I'd probably say hate. I have been on both sides of the trial fence from a perspective of coaching, selecting, but also as a parent. I guess I've got good experience of both sides of it, like I say, but I think I ultimately always with trials think overall they're not particularly pleasurable experiences for anybody really. Certainly not for the players, certainly not for coaches and selectors, and definitely not for parents as well. You know, I've been on the receiving end of those kind of no emails from trials for my own kids, and as parents we have to deal with the aftermath of that, which is really difficult in supporting, you know, your own children through that process. So yeah, overall I'm probably on the side of not liking him very much more than I am really loving it.
That's quite interesting, isn't it? I think we all assume that as players it's pretty terrifying, and as parents, obviously, good or bad results, but you don't kind of think of it in terms of the trial judges themselves. I think maybe that power element seems like quite fun.
No, it's definitely, well, for me personally, it's definitely not fun. I certainly feel that weight of responsibility for a lot of the kids trialling at whatever level really, whether it's club, county or franchise level. You know, lots of them look forward to those trials over the course of the year as best they can do. You know, they want to achieve whatever the outcome is for them, you know, whether that's a county selection or a school game selection or an MPL selection or whatever. So you definitely feel that responsibility. You know, I'm always very conscious of making sure that, you know, everybody that turns up gets seen, certainly from my list to say, right, tick, I've seen that player, whatever. But from my own experience, I don't think parents should be sat up there watching those trials thinking, oh, like selectors and coaches are loving it, because my experience certainly isn't that.
So let's talk about the trials themselves and what are coaches sort of really looking for. When you're watching a player, what would stand out in the first 2 minutes, and how quickly are you thinking this could be a yes or a no?
Oh, that's a really good question. So for me personally, what I'm always looking for in the first instance is just like some real basic things. So ball handling, passing accuracy, pass completion, are they turning fully down court? Some of those really kind of basic things. I think with some players, you do reach a judgment quite early on. Now, that might be the case that it might not what you're looking for. You know, on that particular day, you might be looking for a number of standing goal shooters, as an example, and then you come across a shooter who's very active, very moving around. So you might naturally veer away from those. I guess also some of your decisions as a selector can be influenced by what you might already know of that player potentially. So if you see them over the course of a season in a club environment, not necessarily your own club environment, but matches you've been at or attended and you've seen them, you might know, well, I've seen plenty of that player play. I think they've got something. I think they can do this, whatever. So I guess on those instances, you can form opinions quite quickly. I'm never really sure whether it's a huge advantage to know what players are capable of in advance, if you know what I mean. Like a player turning up to a trial who you've seen lots, I'm sometimes never really sure if that's an advantage or not. Is it easier to select those players that you are already aware of, or actually is it easier just to not have any indication of what the player's kind of abilities are? So I think it just varies from player to player. Some players will just stand out very, very quickly. Others, you might need to see them over the course of 2 or 3 trials to be able to form that opinion. So I don't think there's a right or wrong answer in that. I just think it's very much dependent on the player.
Yeah, and I guess some of that is obviously the element of time of the trials period itself, isn't it? There's the 2-minute decision making, and then there's the 22-minute decision making.
The other thing with trials as well, obviously you've got such a short amount of time, and generally speaking, you've got a lot of athletes to assess. You do have to have that ability to make quick decisions, but at the same time, you don't want to be so quick that you commit yourself to that decision on one player when they could improve as the trial goes on, or conversely, they could start strongly and kind of tail off a bit as the trial goes on. So it's a real fine balance to try and strike.
So let's talk about a few common mistakes that players might make when they're going into their trials. Is there anything that you think players might do that might actually work against them? And is there a common mistake that you see sort of every year in every trials you run?
I don't know about common mistakes, but I think for the girls in my club, when I know they are heading into trials, one of the things I'll always stress to them is about move on from your errors quickly. So I just think if you make a mistake, you have to be able to park that straight away and move on and concentrate on the next thing. And sometimes at trials, you see it with players where they'll make a mistake and they're wearing that mistake on their face, and then they'll make another mistake, and then all of a sudden feel like they're in this tailspin of, I guess, trial misery in some regards. But yeah, I think for me, moving on from errors quickly is really important. I think as players trialing, you might play that ball into the pocket for a wing attack to get on the end of, and it might go out of play, and you're thinking, oh, that was a terrible pass, whatever. But a selector might look at that and go, actually, that was the right pass to play. Wing attack should have got on the end of that. So I think you sometimes as players can start to try and judge what the selectors are thinking. So I just think you just got to concentrate on what you do well and what's got you to that point. Just do those things. You definitely got to play to your strengths. Remember what you're good at. You know, if you're a tall goal shooter who's strong on the hold, show the selectors you can dominate in that role. I just think play to your strengths, move on from errors quickly, and just do those basic things well. The other thing that I often look for as a selector is who are those players who are showing some of those like other qualities for leadership. So who's vocal on court, who's encouraging their teammates, who's calling some centre pass defence setups or backline setups as well. So I look for those sorts of things as well.
I think that leads nicely on to the next question then, which is about attitude. I mean, how much does attitude and behaviour off the ball really matter in this trials process?
For me personally, I hold a lot of weight for that or on that. I think 99% of trialists will turn up and be silent on court. So I think it's a very easy way to get eyes on you is by being loud, encouraging. And some of those things I've just really referred to about, you know, taking the lead a little bit on court. 99% of trialists will turn up and be silent. I don't think players should be afraid to be in the 1% and to make themselves stand out in that category. So for me, I hold a lot of weight on those type of players, or it carries a lot of weight for me.
How much are you watching the players when you think they're not being watched? Like when they first arrive, maybe during the warm-up?
You know, if they've been told they've got 15 minutes to warm up, what are they doing in that 15 minutes? What kind of are they warming up with intensity? Are they spending 15 minutes tying the shoelaces? When they're called in to be given their rotations, are they walking in? Are they jogging in? Are they sprinting in? Like, it's a trial. You're almost on trial from the minute you turn up in reality. Yes, that all matters, but the fact is it really is what you do on court during those minutes that you get, which is going to make the difference. But I certainly do I'm aware of what those kids are doing in those moments when they're off court or approaching the start of their trial, whatever it might be.
Leading on to things like the confidence that they need to obviously show their best of their ability. How do you spot confidence versus arrogance? What's the difference there? Confidence
versus arrogance. I think confidence for me would be using shooters. Have they got the confidence to take those shots on? Or are they offloading when they don't need to, when they really should be taking those shots? So for me, that would be a sign of confidence. You know, I'd much rather a shooter take a shot and miss than then, you know, look to offload or give it out circle edge and then the ball get turned over, as an example. So I would always want shooters to put the shot up. In terms of arrogance, I don't know. That's probably a tricky one to label of any player when you kind of don't really know them and their personality. So I would always like to give them the benefit of the doubt and say confidence rather than arrogance. But I do also think that as you move through the levels and the higher standards you go to, I don't think a little bit of arrogance is a bad thing. You know, particularly as you get into sort of NPL levels and stuff, there's no real place there to be a shrinking violet. You've got to have belief in your own ability and your skill set. So yeah, I'd never like to label kind of any player as arrogant. I can certainly spot their confidence on things like, I say, you know, I like shooters putting a shot up. I like a leader on court who's dictating what's happening at a centre pass or setups or anything like that. So that's, I guess, how that would show itself to me.
So looking at some advice for our trialists that are listening and their parents, if you had 3 things a player should do before trials, what would it be?
Kind of leading up to trials or just the whole trial process, really. I think if possible, you've got to try and enjoy the experience. You know, it's your chance to show what you can do. You've worked hard all year. You should be looking forward to that chance to get out there and make things happen. So I've already kind of referenced, you know, if you make a mistake, move on from it quickly, you know, just focus on the next thing. We all play better when we're enjoying ourselves. So I think try and enjoy the experience as best as you can, fully acknowledging what I said right at the start, saying about how much I hate the experience sometimes. Come prepared. I think, you know, try not to be overawed by it. You know, nerves are natural. Yeah, make yourself comfortable in the surroundings. You know, if you're one of those players with lots of nervous energy, again, get there early, have a bit of a run around, play a little 3v3 with another group of players or something. So just prepare as best as you can. And then I think the other thing for me would be, you know, to play to your strengths, do what you are good at, back yourself, back your ability. You know, if you're a holding goal shooter, a tall goal shooter, you know, which is strong on the hold, show that. Show the selectors what you got. If you're a goal defence, you're awesome at bringing the ball out of defence, you know, don't sit back and watch others do it. Get involved, take the game on, really. So I would say enjoy the experience, come prepared and play to your strengths.
I love that. Nice and simple. And back yourself, 100%.
Yeah, definitely back yourself. Definitely back yourself.
Let's do some quick fire questions. Are you ready? Nice and fast.
Probably not, but we'll give it a go.
Best position to trial for?
I would say goalkeeper, goal defence on the basis there is, generally speaking, 1 million mid-quarters and 1 million goal attacks and stuff. So I would definitely say defence.
Well, that's my next question. Most oversubscribed position? In my head, it's wing attack.
Yeah, probably any of those three, to be fair. But yeah, any of those three.
Underrated quality?
Leadership.
A red flag?
Whew.
Coming without your trainers?
Yeah, coming without your trainers. That might be more of an attitude thing. I think red flags. Maybe if you just don't kind of like the way someone is presenting themselves, turning up, chewing gum, or... Do you know what I mean? Like, probably more attitude thing for me would be a red
flag. With their Converse on. A player you'd pick every time?
Workhorse. I'm drawn to those grafters.
What do you say to every player walking into the trials this season?
I think I've said it a few times on here, but back yourself, believe in yourself, do what you're good at. Don't worry about what the selectors are thinking.
That's absolutely brilliant, Neil. Super helpful. Some great advice there. Nice and simple, isn't it? Just do your best, back yourself, and it's game on. Yeah,
the reality is that if you can do those simple things well, you're giving yourself a chance right at the start. So, yeah. And the other thing I think it's important for athletes and parents to remember is the coaches are well aware that lots of good players don't get picked. The fact is, it's almost an impossible job. There's lots of players trialling for not many spaces, and lots of very good players don't get picked, but you just have to draw the line somewhere. Like, I'm a real softie. I'd take everybody if I could. It's just not possible. And I always think as well with trials, like, to me, some no's are different to other no's. You know, you could spend an hour with the selection committee debating one player and the outcome be a no, whereas someone could be a no after 15 minutes of a trial. So there are different no's as well. I know that sounds a bit weird, but I'm always very conscious of that as well. So, yeah.
Thank you so much. That's so helpful. Real insight into that world. So thank you. We appreciate your time.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
Right, so next up to chat to today, we have the lovely Harriet Kelly, who has some great experience for us to talk about in her world of trialling players. Welcome to the episode, Harriet. Please tell me what your involvement in netball is, what you do for trials, what your world of netball looks like at the moment.
So I currently coach under-17s for Loughborough Lightning. I'm the assistant coach, along with Amy Mountford, who's the head coach. Last year, I also was the head coach for under-15s, which I coached alongside Bella Bayliss and Nat Panagari, which was an amazing experience. And obviously, we had to trial for that. So my life is very busy with netball and lots of trials, lots of sessions all the time. But I also do have my own junior club as well. So we've just had trials for that. We've sort of done a lot for regional trials, and so lots of netball all the time.
Talk me through your club trials first. So what's the process involved? Who gets the trial? How does it work?
We have open trials for girls age year 4 to 18, really. We do have adults as well, so we do have sort of a filter for them when they are no longer in the junior side of the club. But currently we have just done trials for under 14, under 16 regional. So these are open trials for anybody who wants to give it a go. So we say, everybody is welcome. Those trials usually consist of 2 hours, an hour or 2 hours of a warm-up, a drill and a match play, or sort of a skill-based sort of game sense play and then match play. And we just sort of score your basics, really. And then, hopefully select a good team to be able to compete against the other clubs at regional level.
How does it work in terms of who you would be putting forward for trial, or can literally anybody trial for you?
Literally anybody can trial, whether you're at our club or not. We have had some outside trialists from outside of club this year, which was really good because it means that our sort of club is getting out there, that people want to come and trial for us. We sort of select based on our sort of strongest squad that we have on the day, or the girls that we have on the day. So we were really, really busy. So we've actually got, in our under-16s, we've got 20 girls with a couple of training partners as well. So there's lots of talent at the moment around here. So we want to give everybody a fair opportunity. So we've got quite a few girls that have made it, and hopefully be able to qualify for the regional in the summer, and then looking forward to the regional league next year.
So when you're doing the trials with these players, particularly looking at kind of club trials for juniors, what are you looking for? Like what would be like an ideal standout candidate that you think you'd be putting forward for the team?
I look for someone that shows me they have the fundamentals. So they have the basics, they have the passing, they have the movement, they have the footwork. Regardless of sort of the level they're at the moment, I look at their resilience and their coachability. So if they sort of make a mistake, then sort of get back onto their next job and they sort of look what they can do next and try and win the next ball. That's what I look for, is they've made a mistake, but they're not gonna dwell on that. They're just gonna get on with the next job, because in netball we all know we make mistakes. Mistakes happen, and the ball will get thrown out of court at some point. But it's about what you do after that. So I look for that sort of resilience in a player, whether they have that sort of get up and go to be able to go and win that next ball or do that next job. Also, if they're coachable, so if they listen to their instructions, if I sort of give them, this is what I want to see from you, or this is what this is the skill we would like to do. Now, if they sort of get in and get straight to it and can listen to those instructions that I'm giving and do that, then they're coachable. It doesn't matter sort of if they've never played in a structure or they don't have knowledge of centre pass and tackle, centre pass defence. That's okay, because that's all my job. Like, I can coach them for that. It's whether they have that coachability factor about them, whether they're going to be able to take that on. So I look for that side of it. It's not necessarily who's the best player on the court. It's sort of what I could do with them and sort of their age as well. If I know they have 2 years at under 16s, I know I've got 2 years to develop them. So I look for that as well. I like to look for the future, look for the next 2 years rather than just this next season.
With your involvement in the Lightning Hub, is there a different process when you're helping with trials for one of the pathways or one of the Super League clubs, or is the process the same regardless of who's trialling and what for?
The process is the same. We like someone that we know we can coach. We like someone that shows that resilience. We like someone that has those fundamental skills. We also like to sort of see the fitness and the agility side at that level, and who can take on, those really strong drives, and who can show us that they are ready mentally for it as well. So a lot of mental prep goes into it. So if they've maybe done a little bit of research on how they can maybe defend on circle edge a bit more, and they've looked at maybe Super League players and sort of seen what they're doing, and you can see them trying to implement sort of little bits that maybe are not your sort of just standard catching, passing, moving. It's about what they're doing off the ball. So whether they're creating space for their teammates, whether they're sort of making drives or making leads for other players to run into. So it's more, we kind of look for that sort of structure in the sense of we're looking for what that next step is, what they're doing off the ball rather than just on the ball.
Is there anything that you would suggest players could be doing beforehand to better prepare? What would you think is a good way to get in the right mindset, and what would make people's chances more to be successful higher?
To be in the best mindset for going to a trial is not putting too much pressure on yourself, not setting an expectation, just going and enjoying the sport, because that's what we all love. We all love to play netball. So all you're doing at a trial is going to play netball, and if you do well and you get in, then fantastic. If you don't, then that's obviously something then you can work on for the next year to work on for the next trial. But I think that, what I said about preparing before, researching your position, looking what, the likes of Beth and Nat Panagari do in this sort of position. If you're a centre, what does Nat do? What could I do to do that? Preparing, obviously, as your player, if you're a shooter, your position, you want to make sure you're getting those shots up. As 50 shots a day, I would say, before trials, getting that accuracy, making sure, because it's all sort of muscle memory. It's all. If you can shoot, if you're a shooter, you teach your body to shoot. And in trials, there's so much added pressure that you'll put on yourself. You'll feel like, oh, if I miss a shot, I'm not going to get in. But actually, it's about the volume of shots that you're putting up. If you land in that circle and put a shot up, we know that you're confident to put that shot up. We know, you might be in the position then to get the rebound. It's not necessarily how many shots you get in. So I think it's just taking that pressure off yourself, but doing everything that you do on the netball court, day in, day out, at club, at school, wherever you play. It's just playing netball, and we just want you to enjoy it.
Oh, Harriet, that's so valuable. Thank you. I think there's so much there that players can take away. And like you said, at the end of the day, it is about the sport they play, probably week in, week out. We thank you very much for your time today.
Hopefully that was really helpful for our listeners.
Surely, for that level of knowledge and information, there's someone going to take something from that, because I think that's such good information, isn't it? What people really need to know, how it works, what happens, what they're looking for. And we could send our players from all our listeners off to trial. Maybe we could get them to say when they're at trials that they're a
Tag us in.
Podcast ever fan. It might help.
I think anybody listening who thinks this is going to be helpful to anybody they might know, please share this episode on your socials so everybody gets to benefit.
Absolutely. I think I'm going to trial for some new teams. Are you with me?
It depends. Are you talking about us having to drive 3.5 hours off a boat?
Good point.
Okay, let's go on then to some amazing advice from Super League players.
Yeah, I think the point we all have to remember is all of those Super League players will have also trialled it. It must be just as nerve-wracking if you're elite level netballer as if you're 12 years old. So who are we hearing from today?
We are hearing from Ella Clark, Shadeen Vandermerve, the wonderful Vic Burgess, Alice Harvey, and not forgetting Jackie Newton.
So Ella, our listeners that are out there prepping for trials, we would like some advice specifically for our shooters. What advice would you give to aspiring shooters that are going to trial for whatever level of netball they're playing at?
Don't panic. That's always a key one, I think, about what position you're in. Don't panic, but especially in the shooting position. Don't overcompensate for things. If you think things are going wrong, just stick to what you know. Do the basics really well. And I always tell people that I coach shooting that if you're having a bad shooting day, you have to just tell yourself to trick your mind that you're a good shooter. So if you feel yourself missing, you've just got to keep telling yourself like one thing, either that brings you down, whether it's fingertips, breathe or something, or sometimes you can generally just say to yourself, no matter how stupid you feel, that you're a good shooter. You've got to trick your mind into thinking that you're better than what you're putting out there currently.
I play centre, but I'm going to try that anyway.
Well, I do that all the time. I'm literally like, I'm a good podcaster. I'm a good podcaster.
And it works, see?
Thank you, Ella. So, Shadeen, thank you for coming on today. We are doing an episode all around players that are headed off for trials, which can be obviously super daunting. My question to you is, what advice would you give them to mentally prepare for trials before they turn up to that big day?
For kids, it's really important, like going into trials, you can visualize your performance. Maybe before you go to sleep, sometimes like play your trials in your head, like going for intercepts or how you're going to attack. That will just ease and settle your nerves a little bit more than instead of like just going in, having this high expectation. And also just to go out there and enjoy it. It's still netball and you can play netball, so don't overthink anything. But I think it's just to go out there, enjoy it and just believe in yourself. And yeah, like I said, the build up there is really important, just to visualize it. When you come to trials, that you don't feel that nervous. And even if you're nervous, that's okay to feel that, because that means it means something to you. So just go out there, enjoy it, play your best, never compare yourself to anybody, and just go out there and enjoy it.
That's really great advice. Thank you. Vic, a key part of your job is obviously around trials and prepping and picking players. This episode's all about our young aspiring players that are about to hit a season full of trials. What advice would you give them going into that arena to make sure they come out with their best possible outcome?
For me, it would probably just go in and enjoy it. Like nailing the basics is probably one of the key things when you're out there, just making sure that you're on attack, turning fully, getting the ball up high, releasing it forward, defensively as well, like doing your own job well. But ultimately, actually speaking to people, connecting before you go out there, like trying things together. Like even though you do go into that environment, probably a lot of the time, as an individual, a lot of scouts and selectors are looking for like how you work with others, because this is like the ultimate team game, right? So I think that's like a huge element of like just getting in there and getting stuck in. What I'd also say as well is one day of trials doesn't define your whole netball journey. So there might be times where you do get in and that's great, but actually there might be times where you don't, and you might think that's the end of the world, but it's not. Like it's one moment, it's one point of your journey that you go away from that, keep working at, keep playing, and then that next point might be that your opportunity and the time that it's right for you to get into those teams or those trials. So that would be my big bit of advice, is like it's literally one moment in time at a trial, and there's so much more opportunity, and don't forget to enjoy it as well.
So what I'm hearing there is that there's still hope for me and Chris yet.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We'll see you at the next trials. Thank you.
No worries.
So Jackie, for all our listeners out there who are prepping really hard for trials,
what advice would you give them to make sure that they're seen, especially if they're in those circle defensive positions?
I would say for me, it's about focusing on just a couple of specific things. I know for me, if I went into a netball trial with the mindset that I had to impress everybody and absolutely set the world on fire, it was maybe a little bit too much pressure. So focus on a few really specific things that you know are your strengths, that wow people, get you noticed, and that you can really work on and hone into and hopefully have some success with those.
Thank you. That's really great advice.
Hi, I'm Alice Harvey, and my top tip for going to trials would be to really try and nail the basics. So in attack, this would look like things like having really good ball placement, keeping the ball up nice and high, taking it from above your head or the shoulder. And then in defence, it would look like just really trying to do a good 1v1 jog, stick to your attacker and try and force them into bad positions that they don't want to be in.
Right, well, I think we better finish this amazing episode off. We want to wish everybody that's trialling the very best of luck, going confident and rock it.
And let us know if you get in, how you got on, if you need a bit of a pep talk, we're ready.
Private message Carla, she'll voice note you.
You've got this.
Thank you, as always, to our amazing sponsors, Akuma Sports.
Akuma Sports create high-quality custom teamwear for clubs, schools and organisations. So if your team is looking for professional netball kits, training gear or off-court apparel, make sure you check them out at akumasports.com.
akumasports.com! Do you know what I love? Their inclusive kit. All about making people feel so much more confident on that court.
They look so good. Best tops, t-shirts, dresses. You wear what you feel comfortable in. That whole advert campaign is really great, isn't it?
Yeah, except we weren't invited to be on it. Bit disappointing.
They needed professional models, Chris. I'm not sure we fitted the criteria. We're not the tallest netball representatives either.
As always, we really do need your help to keep our podcast going. So like, follow and share.
All the information from our Trials Show special is in the magic show notes.
Try saying that when you Carla.
That took 4 goes for our listeners.
You can contact us in the usual way: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, or you can email us to the best netball podcast ever
at gmail.com.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
You said that really quick so I couldn't make some sarcastic comment.
I did. Goodbye. Bye.